legit ways to make money. And
Yeah.
violence, especially blowing things up, was really bad. For some reason, you blow some up, the government's all over you.
Yeah.
So there was a time in the late 80s and the 90s where there wasn't a lot of violence, and everybody was making money.
What was your first racket?
As a kid, I started out in peep shows with my uncle, going to collect the money every week.
Interesting.
So that's what I learned. I also learned loan sharking. Loan sharking was big in Chicago. My dad at one point had one of the biggest crews, if not the biggest. We never had less than $1 million on the street at any given time, charging on average about 10% a week, 520% a year. Yeah, and there were a lot of ways to make money. There were places that paid protection.
Yeah.
Street tax, excuse me. And and there was legitimate stuff too. Making legitimate money.
So you were not a street guy per se, but you're obviously getting groomed by a made guy. Your uncle's a made guy, and now you're 17, 18 years old. Did you attend college? Did you go to the street? You obviously had like kind of a fork in the road. What did you do at that time?
So the more I did for my dad, the more he's seen of him and me. And he started bringing me into this more and more. And because he couldn't bring me in life, he would always say, "You're my secret weapon."
Yeah.
So basically mostly worked with my dad, my uncle, met a few other people that were in the crew, but it wasn't out on the street because I always worked a full-time job. I had a job with the city.
Yeah.
So I had side businesses. I did rehabbing, roofing, whatever I could do to make money. I was always hustling. And so slowly my dad brought me into this more. I wanted to go away to college. I wanted to be a lawyer. When we got out of high school, my dad had this control problem with all of us. He wouldn't let us go away to college. And my two brothers were both A students in high school. I just got by because I didn't care. So he said, instead of going to college, I'm going to get you that city job. And at night I worked with him. At some point I bought into this.
Did you okay, so I myself, my family, my close family, our family's from Italy, and we were not a connected family, but we had members of our family marry into some pretty substantial people, and being from Italy, we had a little more access to guys from the other side and that kind of stuff. However, my experience always has been the mob families kind of hung out with the mob families, and the non-mob families stayed away from them by hook or crook, and that would just been my experience. Growing up, did you your family vacation and hang out and barbecue kind of with other members of the outfit, or was it more about the community and it really didn't matter?
It was both.
Okay.
It was both. But the one thing was you never conducted business when you were around regular people. My dad didn't. Over the years, as the government was getting stronger, he didn't want to hang around with the crew. What we would do is we'd do business together, but we didn't do it out on the corner where everybody can see it. We met at meeting under the cover of darkness, constantly moving, okay, and setting up the meeting the next week. But once a month, he would have a dinner at a restaurant or something in a back room or something where all the guys would come meet, and that was our socializing. So pretty much all the guys I hung around with were all my friends they weren't in the life. And then there were guys I worked with that were, but I didn't hang around with them.
Tell us about your uncle. There is at least for me in my research, a fair amount about your father, respectfully. But your uncle, not so much. Tell us a little bit about Nick Calabrese.
Sure. So my uncle graduated high school. My dad didn't graduate. He just graduated grammar school. But my uncle graduated Steinman's in Chicago on the west side, same school that Tony Spilotro, a lot of guys went to. Yeah. My uncle, he joined the Navy right after high school. He actually volunteered during the Vietnam War. He was a radio operator with top secret clearance on the Bain